It was what's the Cute Boys Against Crime. That's his team.
Yeah, I just truncated that down to CBAC. Yeah.
CBAC? Is
Yeah.
that okay? It sounds good to me. That
Nut
works.
Sacrifice I managed
not,
to squeeze in there, yeah.
Yeah, because, sorry guys, I'm not sitting there saying Cute Boys over and over again for...
Yeah, I'm trying not to get on those lists too often. There we go.
Yeah, but they got a good squad there. Dewey, Backup, Nick, and Mojo, definitely. I was looking at them, Top Gun, another team to watch out for. We saw them last Sacrifice run. They got a nice team of Thumpa, Death Row, Griffin, and Pitt. Very solid team there. Did they qualify last week? Or they? Hold on.
You'll have to tell me. I was out of the state.
actually, hold on. They might not be. Well, because I'm looking at teams that were signed up, haven't got a bracket yet.
Right.
Let me see, refresh the bracket. So they might have signed up, but actually, you know what? I think the bracket probably in from last week.
So just to make sure I'm getting this straight, is Dewey on Nut Sacrifice?
No, Dewey's on Cute Boys Against
All
Crime.
right.
CBAC.
I'll swap them around. Eagerly awaiting
Gun,
the addition of clan tags, which we've seen and heard is indeed coming to Quake Champions.
Yeah, the team I mentioned with Pitt, and they qualified last run, so they are not in this one. I'm mistaken.
Absolutely. So we're starting to see these picks come in here, and as you mentioned, you just have the one champion per team. And so we see J-Back on a Sorlag, Core Puncher on a Scale Bearer, Sully on a BJ, and a nicely dressed one as well. Cupcakes, I love that spelling, as an Anarchy. And we have a similar Anarchy over on Backup. G-Nick playing Sorlag, Scale Bearer from Dewey, and Mojo, the one the one champ standing out here, playing a Galena, which could be all sorts of fun in Sacrifice for sure.
I've been very curious to see how Galena gets utilized, because it's the totem dual purpose, right? It heals and damages. So it can. I would imagine when those fights get a little hectic, people running around the totem. There's 2, 3, maybe even 4 people, straight through. Imagine just throwing a totem in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
And how much, how disruptive that might be. I'm just kind of curious to see, somebody who's really good at timing that sort of thing and what could happen. I have a feeling she could be really useful. Maybe we see a change in terms of her being utilized more often.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of flexibility there. Again, she has one of those more analog, super creative abilities. And of course, as I was calling out those champions, I realized we're not quite at the draft yet, but it looks like things might shake down rather similarly to what we saw there in the warm-up screen. But whenever I'm playing Sorlag in Duel, it is incredibly satisfying to hit somebody with that spit and see those 10 pips dink down. If you're able to hit a whole team with spit, it's heaven. It's absolute heaven.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun when I have played Sacrifice. The Sorlag is a very fun. I think that's pretty much that and Scale Bearer. Yeah, I think are my 2 favorites for Sacrifice. Just like you said, for the point clearing ability. It's just something really satisfying about getting a charge kill or an acid spit kill. I don't know. Even as an old time Quake, I don't get too pure. I just love it. I'm sorry. It's just hilarious to me. I've always enjoyed Quake for the hilarious moments that you can get in games.
Absolutely. So we are going to indeed be starting off here on Blood Covenant, which is fascinating because you actually have these really open pillar rooms that are the most open areas in the map. Everything in the actual default map area is pretty tight in comparison. So we're going to see a bit more play through the middle atrium compared to Duel. But there's going to be a lot of play around the pillars, of course, as always. Pillars and Bridge is the real bread and butter of this map in team modes, and that hasn't changed too much here in Sacrifice.
Yeah, Bridge still the area to control for that obelisk over there by the heavy armor, but they added that little area. Pillars goes a little further back, so there's that whole kind of like upper bridge area and in the other obelisk area that you want to control. So it's all it goes back to controlling high ground and just good coordinated attacks. So we'll see which team is better working together and landing the shots.
Dewey getting an immediate frag with the Dire Orb. No huge surprise there. We see that in Duel as well. But currently we're checking out Core Puncher here as the Soul is coming back up, getting a frag on backup, making his way downtown, looking for an LG, but it's going to be the Soul grabbed here by Mojo, making his way up. And of course this is going to be all about getting the initial pick of the totem, or the pillar rather, and there we have B taken away by CBAC. And they've got a bit of damage from it so far, and Cupcake sneaking in. He's got a Scale Bearer and a Sorlight to deal with. Cannot get the Soul very far, but Genic is there on the response to get it at least a couple more feet. Here comes the return from Suji, but it's not going to last long as he's going for a ring out. And of course, that is something you have the option well, if you can get it bounced out.
Oh, he's missing.
That got changed though, didn't it, in like the last patch? Somebody hasn't been playing off lately.
Yeah, somebody, yeah.
And that would be me, by the way. All right, but 13%, 14 taken away by CBAC here so far. We've got Genic coming back in. We should have that quad coming up here momentarily. But I'm not really sure how the weapon breakdown is going to affect that here as we have a huge fight over the bridge. Genic looking back down over the pillar. It's going to be safe, and this is where CBAC can potentially break away from the pillar a little bit, just to make sure that they can have a wider net of defense and make sure they have a little bit more weapon control.
Yeah, it seems like early, there's always that initial scrum, for, when somebody grabs it and picks the initial obelisk, but it seems like they really established control over their area. And like, so you can really start to expand at that point, start to run some items further on the map, and they're going to be looking for that quad in about 10 seconds.
Well, as everybody's trying to get a bit of control over the power-up coming up, we do have Core Puncher sneaking away, well, as sneaky as a Scale Bearer can be with the Soul, getting it back over to Obelisk A, and it's the first time they're starting to get some points, but 39% up for CBAC. Nut Sacrifice has a long way to go to catch up.
And no quad damage though, so it's gonna be tough to defend.
And indeed, here comes a ton of attention their way. Cupcake's getting a lot of damage having that quad. Let me see if I can quickly get back over to him there. There we go. He's got a bit of time left over on it as he's just defending his own obelisk, and they are indeed getting that caught back up. And even though he's only got machine gun here, a quad machine gun is something that has to be respected. 40 damage a pip there. And they're going to be able to hold that down with a lot of good lines of sight. I mean, this is one that you can defend for quite a long time. You can have somebody positioned up there by shotgun to make sure that they don't have an easy way to attack from the top. But here's the steal from Dewey. Let's see how far he can get as a ranger. He's just trying to do a lot of frags out here before making his escape, forcing everybody back into the middle of the map, and then getting some hopeful information from his team to find a good way to get back out of there and back over to Pillar B.
Yeah, nice run, nice acid spit to kind of protect him by his teammate. That was a nice coordinated run, especially after they kind of had to recover a little bit. CBAC, they went in with quad, but it was only one of them. The quad carrier didn't have a lot of support, right? And he died, and he gave it to the defending team over there. So they got 31% in the end. It's pretty close, but they've established control again. But it's definitely still in the balance right now.
All right,
this next power-up will be crucial.
Absolutely. We have it taken away here once again. Dewey. Going to be catching him in mid-map, looking for the play on the slash. There it is, nicely done. There's the pickup, but not quite the return as Sui is able to take him on down. So Mojo's looking for that return as they're now well over halfway through to winning this first round. Nice shots there. But they're going to have to worry about the power-up here pretty soon. It's always interesting, just like in CTF, you have that power-up coming up, and you might need to reposition players to get back into it and get ready for that. And Mojo's going to be... yeah.
Excellent.
Protection is such a game changer too. Not quite, the old school pentagram, but it gets the job done.
All right, so we have protection taken away here by Cupcakes, looking for a bit of a steal. Should get it here pretty soon, but he only has 4 health. That protection by itself is not going to get him all that far. Looking for somebody to pass it off to, but both the protection and the soul are going to be going on down and returned by CBAC there. It's going to be 17% left to go for this first round, and so far the fights are intense and all over the place, but so far CBAC is able to hold it on down.
Nice shot by back up there, bounced this guy right in the air with a rocket and took him out of the air with another one.
Last few percent here as Sui is taken on down. It's going to be just a little bit more that CBAC needs to take this first round away. We have backup spawning up, getting a grab for LG, and making his way back up to rocket launcher. Going to be all important for that defensive round, but There's 1% to go, but Core Puncher is able to make his escape out here. But everybody's going to know where he's at. It's very difficult to make your escape through the basement without anybody knowing. It's going to be frags all over the place, but here comes 2, 3 gauntlet kills. Ah, geez, and what a victory lap for Dewey here as he's able to return the soul and get this first round. Oh, geez.
Yeah,
Beautifully
nice, and nice work by Nick there, G-Nick. He was just working that tunnel with the nail gun, and all I saw was his numbers popping up with the nail gun. It was ridiculous how many people he was hitting. So he did a lot of work in there, and then Dewey came in with the gauntlet to get the finishing shot. So.
And that many gauntlet kills should be a clue that Dewey's saying, I love this game. It should be a clue that lower armor is just as dangerous in Sacrifice as it is in Duel. But here we go, getting going here once again as the soul's coming back up. We have Mega taken away by Dewey, even though the weapons are going to be pretty light. He does have that HMG. He can do a lot of long-range damage here, bolstered up by that rail, but the mix-up in the mid is going to be intense as it's traded off 2, 3 times and taken by Mojo. Right back over to Pillar B, as CBAC once again gets their preferred pillar. But he doesn't have a whole lot in terms of weapons. He didn't get the switch over to Rocket Launcher either. And so we have JBack getting the pick up here on the Soul, trying to find a way out. And he's got at least one teammate to help him out here as he moves through mid, going through LG, coming up the stairs, but he's taking such a slow route here as a Sorlag. She can do a bit of a rocket jump to get some extra speed, but it's going to be the slow and steady way to get back to Obelisk A. But he's already got an opponent waiting for him. It's going to be Mojo cutting him down.
Much faster on their first steal this time around, but looks like CBAC right on top of it.
Mojo's spending so much time here by the lower armor. It's just a nasty place to be. He's trying to get the pass off, but he's going to need to pick it back up here. It could have been returned 2 seconds earlier, and that 2 seconds would have actually gotten it back onto the pillar.
That was a little interesting because the Anarchy was going, he tried to throw out the Anarchy, and the Anarchy just kept going without the soul.
All right, so raining down the damage onto the Obelisk as Core Puncher is going to be getting away with it. With only 15 health, everybody's going to know he's up there, and he's not going to be going very far. Dewey getting the grab, getting the return. In fact, it's going to be Mojo getting that return, making his way with a little bit of running from Scalebear. But we do have the power-up spawning up in 15 seconds. Everybody's got to start repoing over there, and hopefully with a handful of weapons. But as you can see, the frags are trading so fast that keeping weapons in hands is actually a bit of the play as well.
Yeah, at this point, if you die, you just got to get there with a machine gun, anything, try to help your team secure that thing.
All right, so power-up's going to be taken, died, and taken again. It's going to be a very weak BJ, but that's going to be double machine guns, at least for a couple pellets, but it's going to trade hands back over to Dewey, and it might stay in his hands for a little while here as we have the Soul still on Obelisk B. CBAC making a ton of points here as Dewey's going on a bit of a rampage to keep everybody weak. But he's got to remember that with the spawn system, enemies that he frags in mid-map have the possibility of spawning closer to his Obelisk and making it harder for his teammates to defend. So he's got to come back here and play a little more conservative. He gets the Dire Orb frag, but that that quad's going to be trading hands a couple more times here. Nice
charge there on the quad. Good defense though, even though they're making a good push to try to steal. It's already up to 61, 62%, 63. It's this is good defense. They only got 4% on the other time, so as long as you just keep stalling.
Yeah, a lot of cores getting punched here as the gauntlets are ripping out left and right. Dewey's looking for a bit of defense here, and he's got the teammates to back him up. But here comes not Sacrifice to try to get a pickup. Oh, Dewey trying to get all special with the nail jumps. Not going to happen just yet. Oh, geez, beautiful nail gun play flow. So, as we have players swarming around the pillar trying to get a pickup, they're going to get it, but G-Nick is going to get 2 for 1 on his rocket launcher, getting that return as well. So 85% to only 4% this time. It looks like Blood's Covenant might be a very easy win here for CBAC.
Yeah, just doing a good job, right? They're running the heavy armor, controlling bridge, controlling rocket. It gets just like every Sacrifice game. It can get a little hectic from time to time, but overall, they're putting in the cleaner work and holding position. That's what it's all about. Got to have superior position.
All right, well, there it is. But it looks like Cute Boys Against Crime is going to be ironically criminal here on Blood Covenant, taking away that first map very handily, very quickly, as we look for map 2 here.
Yeah, they were just, it was domination. They got a little something going in the first round, I guess. They got defense there for, I guess, was it just over 30%? Somewhat, but just nothing sustained. That was the best they had, and even that, it was kind of partly due to an error on CBAC's part, as I mentioned, when they brought in the quad unprotected, and then he got ganged up on, and they took quad, and so it enabled them to defend a little longer. You know what I wanted to say there, but anyway, so so yeah, it enabled them to defend a little longer and get some percentage. But other than that, they've been completely, they were completely wiped off of that.
And compared to a team mode like TDM, where the name of the game is not dying, here in any mode like Capture the Flag, where you have a MacGuffin to trade between bases, you're going to die a lot. And it's okay. I mean, you're going to see some players who go like absolutely like maybe like 4-20 because their one and only goal is not anybody else around them, but to get their hands on the flag, get their hands on the soul, get it back to base, and start racking up those points. And so you are going to see a lot of players who aren't grabbing armor, they're not grabbing weapons, they are just going for that objective 100%. And on the flip side, you're going to have people who are going to be a little bit more defensively minded. Now here, because each of the pillar areas or the obelisk areas isn't really a base in and of itself, you have a couple small armors, but the mega's still where it usually is, the heavy armor's still where it usually is. You're going to be seeing a lot of plays to cycle those, but it's not like each team has a mega and a heavy armor to kind of own for the defense. It's still a little bit of a messy game type in that people are just going to be dying all the time.
Yeah, and you're right. You can't fall in love with the kill-death ratio in Sacrifice. everybody has their role to play, and sometimes your role is clearing an area before a power-up, and you know what? You're not going to get that quad. Your goal is to clear the area, and you're probably going to die and eat a lot of damage, but it's to facilitate your teammate who is stacked, who has the heavy armor or mega health, and who's ready to go on a run. You clear the area for him, you get the attention, then he picks it up and goes on his run, and then as teammates, you follow your quad carrier.
Yeah.
In case he gets ganged up on, and if he for whatever reason dies, you're there to pick it up and just support him. But yeah.
And so if you have somebody who really does want that power up, they've still got to be playing a little bit of a TDM game. They've got to be cycling the armor, they've got to be cycling the mega. And with everything else going on, it's sometimes difficult to, center your attention around that. But looks like we're going over to Ruins of Sarnath for map 2 here.
Hey, don't get me wrong. If your teammate has quad and you're running with him, you can demand gifts. Hey, you gave him quad, he should give you an armor here or there that he's clearing out with that quad damage. Yeah. I demand something for my protection services.
Absolutely. And that's where
heavy armor
some champions like Scale Bear and Sorlag kind of come into play, where they can afford to breathe a little bit more because of their health pool. But here's the GLs and HFs. Let's see how these guys do. All right, going to be following Core Puncher as we get started. Oof, nice. And we're rewarded for it there. We have a little bit of a mix-up in the LG room, and Core Puncher is looking for more damage on Scale Bear, but it's going to be mutual damage as Mojo ends up suiciding there.
I always feel like you go on runs with the heavy hitting weapons in these team games, rail especially or rockets, because the limitation of there's all these people running around on the map. There's only so much mega health and heavy armor to go around.
Yeah.
So when you hit somebody with a 80 damage or 100 damage in the case of the rocket, it's just devastating. And odds are they're either going to be dying or on the verge of dying after that.
And with only 25 health, G-Nick is trying to find a position where he can throw down some rails, but it's going to be Sui getting a little bit of revenge as well as the rest of Nut Sacrifice making an attack on the pillar. It's going to be a short-lived one here, though. As actually, no, they've got out with the soul. They're making their way back over, and compared to Blood Covenant, there's not as much room you need to cover in order to get that trade-off to the other pillar. But as you can see, it's going to be a really messy one. Just like in in Duel, that railgun ends up being a bit of a nexus for a lot of nasty fights. But here comes the soul. Here's the play to the pillar. And there we have Core Puncher and crew finally making a little bit of a play on the points.
I think this point over here is interesting because it's so wide open. I almost feel like you have to have somebody up there by the mega health corridor. I don't know what you think about that. It's like to shoot down on the area, right? Because otherwise you're really exposed.
It's great to move through once you're there, but getting there ends up being the real problem. You have these choke points that are completely open to a lot of different vantage points, and no, it's not easy. All right, so we actually have Nut Sacrifice doing a pretty good defense here, catching up and even overtaking CBAC for the moment, but we're going to have to see how that plays in with the power-up coming up. It's going to be a play here from, it's going to be Dewey on top of it, actually. G-Nick is going to be getting the pickup here, and it is indeed a protection or pent for us old farts in the room. He's going to be using it to attack the pillar and try to take it back home. And a clutch with the protection, yeah, he can soak up the damage all day. All right, so there's the rocket jump. There's the dash over. Doesn't quite make it, actually. Didn't cross the gap. Needed to bind the gap, but the teleport is going to help him out, and he should be able to make it through over here and get the grab. So this will help them catch back up to Nut Sacrifice. And he's ready to do some damage as well. Mojo's going to be getting the finisher on that, but just like in TDM, you're doing a lot of setups. You know, he's LG'd, he's railed, finish him off, call out the targets, and be able to focus fire.
Yeah, that's another aspect that I think you can only really work on with you know, practice and, you know, being familiar with your teammates is that focus fire. And, you know, are we all going to turn and shoot at the same target? Because everybody's shooting at a different target. That definitely makes things easier. When everybody's shooting at the same target, I mean, things are just going to die one after the other.
All right, and here comes Genic with a little bit of a sneaky play, but he's got a Ranger to deal with. It's going to be JBAG taking him on down, and here comes the assault. It looks like they're doing a pretty good job of, at the very least, organizing these plays so that they've got 2-3 players making their way into the obelisk all at the same time. But as you can see, those fights are never all that easy, as Dewey is able to catch them all down there, take the frags, and take the soul back home. So now they're up to 52%. Sui is able to shut him down on his way back over to make one more, maybe solo or two-man push here.
Yeah, they're going to have to organize for the power-up soon, too. So that's always... I always like to know how teams do that, because that's an opportunity to maybe send one guy to steal. I mean, you know, while you send maybe 3 and go a little short-handed for the power-up. I don't know. Maybe some teams might think it's a good idea, because you definitely have to spend the majority of your attention on the power-up. It looks like that's what they went for. They went for a quick steal.
All right, but we finally have Sui getting the return here for Nut Sacrifice. They are keeping this one a lot closer than Blood Covenant was, but again, a protection on a clutch means it's going to be a short-lived fight for him there. All right, so Gina.
Yeah, and that's the risk, right? They went for the steal, but they sent 2 guys for the steal. Ideally, you want the steal and the power-up.
Genic is just looking for for shots with the pummel, but it's going to be Sui getting a little bit of revenge there. What's a little bit of friendly fisting there? But we do have Genic spawning back up in a perfect place to get the defense on his obelisk once again. But Sui is actually making the good work here. Oof. Back up, beautifully done. We are seeing so many gauntlet kills here. Gauntlets and SSGs, oh my. But here's Mojo back up top, but as you can see, the soul is trading hands incredibly fast, just in an effort to get it back over here to Obelisk B, so that CBAC can maybe finish off these last 15 points.
Loving the gauntlet kills. There's so many of them. These guys are not afraid to pull out the gauntlet at any moment.
Yeah, so Genic is even taking it out just as he spawns. I don't hate that at all, but he's going to need to widen the net here a little bit more to catch anybody trying to make a play in for maybe this last %, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen, as CBAC will be taking away that first point.
Yeah, a little shaky there for a moment, but overall, still, it seems like they're just, getting the power-ups. I mean, that's just huge. I mean, you have a clutch running in there with protection, and I think he had roughly 150 health, and I mean, he was ready to go. I mean, they weren't killing that guy, so they got to do a better job securing the power-ups if they can, which and you know, that'll obviously help you out in the team fights and trying to secure those obelisks.
All right, so Genic is just in a position here over the soul, and he's feeling pretty confident here. He's got nobody sniffing down his back. He's going to be able to take the shield, take the soul, and dash right into Obelisk B, getting the claim very quickly. So fast that nobody was even there for the damage on the capture itself. But as you can see, there's 2-3 players trying to make a mark as we have points accruing for CBAC.
And every round they've had the choice of which obelisk, right? They're getting the steal right off the bat, and they get to choose which obelisk they want to go to, which, you know, helps your team get in a good rhythm, right? Because you have a game plan, you have a plan. Well, you know, there is no plan. You don't have to go to plan B. Plan A is already working. So it's always nice.
Plan A, yeah. So Genic's in a bit of an awkward spawn down here in the basement, but it's going to be taken away by Sui with only 26 health. He cannot afford a rocket jump. He might need somebody to pass to, but it's not going to be happening. He's going to rebound it back over to himself, and Sui's taken down by Dewey. A Sui and Dewey combo, it's going to be explosive for sure. Dewey getting the pass back over, and he goes, all right, you guys take care of the soul. I'm just going to go get the mega. But there's backup to get the grab. Oof, nice damage coming out of him here so far, but he's going to have a little bit of trouble staying alive at this rate. Nice shots, but here comes 2 up the stairs, running up there as a Scale Bear. He's able to take down the Ranger at the very least. JBAC taken on down. And these rails are just on fire here from Backup.
Yeah, Backup's putting in some work right now. I was kind of noticing, you know, Obelisk B over there, it just seems like it has better angles for defense, right? You know, the 2 little stairways on the sides, and if they have to charge kind of up some stairs to get to you, or double jump up that other area, like really exposed, like in your face, in order to get up to that Obelisk. So and I can see why teams want to go there first. At least it seems to me that's where I'd want to go.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of discussion about, you know, what's ideal at that point, but at the same time, you saw that Core Puncher was able to get the soul snuck in there as everybody else was fighting over the item. But it's going to be Gina getting the protection once again. That clutch certainly has his clutches on the protection, and that is making things incredibly difficult for Nut Sacrifice to hold on to the soul with.
Yeah, great. Nothing you're going to chase him with a lightning gun and see those one sticks. It's kind of
that's
a little discouraging. Yeah.
All right, so 63% here. We haven't seen Nut Sacrifice make much of a stand here on their Obelisk so far. Yeah, more fisting in the basement. Always good, partially legal. We have G-Nick coming back into Nail Gun as well as Rocket Launcher. It's still going to be a long time before anything really spawns back up, but they are just looking for the fights now. Anytime that they can take a fight out of their base, away from the Obelisk, away from the Soul, it's just more free points for them.
Yeah, it's just slowly picking up. It's not looking good. I mean, they've been, but it just goes to show. We've seen the momentum being on their side. You know, going back to the last map. So this isn't surprising that they're gonna looks like close the show and move on through the bracket.
The worst kind of gauntlet is a surprise gauntlet out of a teleporter for sure.
The surprise fisting.
Yep. All right.
I don't think that's legal.
It depends on what state you're in. But so far, it looks like we are going to see a pretty clean victory here out of CBAC, unless Nut Sacrifice does anything clever at this point. It's going to be defended, but JBAC taking down that last nope rail means that it's going to be GG called out there. And what a set for Cute Boys against Crime.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at their lineup, you know, we've been watching these guys in duel, so it's just about putting together that team cohesion, right? I mean, that's always a challenge. You know, having played team games in various, you know, different formats, it's always a challenge, you know, working on team cohesion and communication and making sure everybody's on the same page, right? To the point where you don't have to call everything out anymore, right? It's just things get a lot more streamlined with the communication when you're much more familiar with everybody, and there's only one way to get there, and that's practice.
Well, you say that, but then again, a lot